Tonight on The Buzz, we're talking production sound, a unique post-festival, and rescuing your data. We start with Zack Allen, the sound geek. Zack has made a career out of recording amazingly clear audio on set. Tonight, he shares his tips on how to record great sound during production. Next, Wendy Woodhall is the co-founder of the first annual LA Post Festival. In this event, everyone gets the same footage, and the challenge is to create the best possible film from it. This year's theme is science fiction, and tonight, Wendy joins us to explain how the contest works. Next, Chris Bross works for Drive Savers, a company that specializes in recovering data from crashed drives. However, the biggest part of their business is now recovering data from broken iPhones and other mobile devices. Tonight, Chris explains how they can salvage encrypted data from an iPhone without actually reading the data. All this, plus Tech Talk and a Buzz flashback. The Buzz starts now.
Tonight's Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Otherworld Computing at MacSales.com.
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
Uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
And welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content creators covering media production, post-production, marketing around the world. Mike, welcome back. Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Happy New Year to you.
It's good to see you sitting in that chair.
You just got back from Vegas, right?
We got back from...
You just told me 2 minutes ago you were at CES.
I did.
I'm so jealous. I've never been to that show ever.
2.4 million square feet, twice the size of NAB, twice the number of attendees, 175,000 people.
And you walked every foot of it.
I talked to every exhibitor. I took notes. I brought it all back. I'm going to share it with you.
For the next 6 episodes of Digital Production Buzz, we will talk about CES.
I had a chance, I was there as press, so I had a chance to attend press day on Tuesday. I was there when Samsung rolled out their new refrigerator with a monitor attached, which is $5,000 of
Seriously,
amazing.
it really is that much?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I was there when Toyota announced the new Toyota Research Institute, a $1 billion lab focused on self-driving cars, and Kia talking about the fact that self-driving cars are going to start to roll out some features this year, partially automated driving by 2020 and fully automated driving by 2030, which is just way cool stuff.
2030, what is it, 15 years from now? Will I be alive? Maybe. I'm looking forward to that, by the way.
I am, well, you and me both. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, absolutely.
The other thing I saw is that 4K and HDR is a done deal.
It looks like HDR is trumping 4K or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, HDR is going to be the TV set of the future.
In fact, you won't be able to buy a TV set that's not 4K and HDR compatible, so whenever you're upgrading your existing HD set, you'll still be able to play HD on it, but then you'll be able to go to 2K or 4K.
And Warner Brothers is rolling out, I believe, 200 titles. Mm-hmm. So it's a start.
So Sony's doing 100 titles, and we're seeing Netflix also announced 4K support. So that's huge.
You have a favorite item at CES that you saw?
Well, I nearly got killed by drones. My goodness, you can't walk around the show.
Were they flying those things all over the...
Well, they're in cages.
Well, yeah.
But some of them are like...
Well, NAB, they only had like one cage in the second floor.
Here.
At CES, was it like dozens of cages?
You were dodging cages as you walked around. It was just amazing.
My favorite device, I got to tell you, is, I wasn't there, but I'm reading all about it, is the Bluetooth pregnancy test app. I have absolutely no reason that you should have a Bluetooth pregnancy test app. In fact, I think that's probably the worst idea I've ever heard in my life.
No, there's far worse ideas. Yeah. There's 3,600 exhibitors scrambling to find something. Yeah. By the way, when you do want to find something, check out our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly show newsletter. Mike and I are going to be right back with Zack Allen right after this.
Still to come on The Buzz.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance.
However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting macsales.com today. That's macsales.com.
Zack Allen is a freelance production sound mixer and the owner of Soundgeek Productions in Fresno, California. He's been recording sound since he was 17, and for the past 7 years, he's worked in many different productions, including features, commercials, news, sports, and documentaries. Hello, Zack. Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm talking to you. This is going to be fun. I've been looking forward to chatting with you since I got word you were going to be on the show. But before we start talking about improving our audio during production, I'm curious to know how you got started in this business, because I understand it's quite a story.
Yeah, well, I'll take you back. I'll try to skip through it pretty quickly. But basically, I came out of Fresno State. I graduated there and moved down to L.A. on an internship that I had working at a sound facility called Entrant, which is responsible for like Boogie Nights and the Matrix trilogy and all that. So I was pumped at the time to, be in post sound and get my way in there. And I ended up getting hired full time, worked the rest of the year of 2007, and I got laid off at the end because of the writer's strike and the economy crash and all that. So. But during that time, I learned a lot about how sound needs to be, and which I think is a really good approach to going about it. Because as a producer, you need to think backwards. You need to know what your final product is, and then work your way back so you know what you need exactly and proper budgets and everything. But that's a separate topic. Anyways, after I got laid off from there, I came back to Fresno, and I was kind of unemployed and trying to do my best, like many other people were probably trying to get work. And I'd keep getting calls every once in a while from random productions coming into the Fresno area asking if I could do sound, because I had my name listed in a local film listing for the area, and I just couldn't do anything because I had no gear. And I would say, yeah, sure, I could do that for you, and love to help you out, but I didn't have any gear at the time, and then I wouldn't hear back from them ever again. So, as it turned out, later on, an ex-girlfriend of mine drove us into a walnut tree at 50 miles an hour, and the payout that I got from insurance on that ended up being my first investment into a sound kit. And after I did that, about a couple weeks later is when it just took off. I met a really good producer friend of mine that turned into a good relationship, and I just kind of launched Soundgeek Productions from that, and kind of grew into where I'm at today. So it's interesting, making lemonade out of lemons in a way.
I love it. His girlfriend runs him into a tree, and he starts his company off of that.
pretty much.
I was just thinking, you've been recording audio since you were 17. What was it that attracted you to audio? Because most guys grab a camera and start taking pictures.
Yeah, I did take the camera path for a little bit, but that came after. I started sound first. I mean, I was always interested in sound when I was really little. My mom would show me pictures of how I'd, be tweaking with sound things, when I was a little kid. But at 17 is when I really took off, because my friends and I, like everybody else at that age, we want to start a rock band to be rock stars and everything. And so I picked up a guitar and we were playing and stuff, and we got to the point where it's like, we need to record some stuff. well, we all look at each other stupid, like, well, who's gonna do this, And I'm more of a progressive person to actually do something, so I went ahead and invested in an old Fostex 4-track, on a cassette at the time, and I learned at that point. That's when recording engineering really became like a thing for me, and basically the technology of it kind of started fascinating me more so than the art side of music. And obviously there was more money into it that I saw, so more like a way to make a living.
Yeah.
So I kind of went that route, and I just became really fascinated with, the physics of sound and tried to learn as much as I can. Even though I'm not very good with math, I understood the, how things work. And I, always kind of strive to always learn more about, the mechanics of making things work right, of sound. So.
Well, getting things to work right is an understatement, because one of the things that attracted us to you recently is we got a press release from the folks at Sound Devices, which is a company that makes audio gear and mixers, and you've been using their gear for a while. And one of the things that you were doing is that you were working on a Billy the Kid documentary for National Geographic. I want you to tell me about the project first, and then I want to concentrate on the gear that you're using and why you picked the gear that you did. But what is this Billy the Kid documentary?
Well, the Billy the Kid, it was labeled as the new evidence. And what it was is in here where we live in Clovis, California, there was a man here named Randy who came across an old tintype from a, antique store auction kind of deal. And after 5 years of his own research, and you start to realize that this might be a picture of Billy the Kid and his regulator friends and Sally Chisholm and all that. And a local producer that I worked with often in Fresno got wind of it, and they hooked up and started to realize that there's a story here. There's a documentary that needs to be done. And then it got picked up by Left Field Entertainment, which turned into National Geo. And so what we ended up doing was, we were on the road for about 6 months documenting the journey that Randy had of him finding all the different research points that he needed to authenticate this picture, because it didn't have what was called as provenance, which is like a hand-me-down through family generations to prove things. And it needed to be authenticated in a different fashion. So we were doing a lot of on the fly, on the road type work with that.
Well, let's talk about the gear that you were using. We're going to show some pictures. You sent us a delightful collection of images, and we're going to be showing some of the gear that you worked with. But talk about what you use when you're on location. What gear do you have?
Well, for this specific, for this show, I used to use Zack Allen equipment. I started with that. It was a Nomad 12, and it worked fine, but what I found out was the pace that we were shooting and having to deliver footage was so fast that this particular mixer recorder just wasn't keeping up. I was producing. The producers had to wait like hours for me to bounce all the footage down correctly. So what I ended up using was switched to my Sound Devices stuff, which I've never had a problem with. They work fantastic. I couldn't be happier with them, and I finished out about 3/4 of that 6 months shooting with the 633 and the 688, which were just fantastic machines. And they were working in a lot of different climates. We shot through the summer in the heat in New Mexico, out in these just in the middle of nowhere, Old West stuff. It was really good.
Now, when you're working, are you always using the same mic, or do you have a specific mic for a specific task?
I got a small handful of mics that I've kind of been building my the boom mic side of things kind of slow. I have a CMIT, a Sheps, a CMIT 5U, which is a fantastic mic to have all around. I use that mic for almost all of the interview and on-the-fly dialogue through the...
Now, who's the manufacturer on that?
That's Sheps. Okay. And they're out of Germany. They're a highly renowned company, and they do excellent work with their equipment. And I also used Sanken's CS3E for pulling out dialogue in noisy situations. The CMIT does a pretty good job at that, but when you're really, really trying to isolate something, that CS3E is like a sniper rifle with a boom mic. It's really narrow, and it really rejects a lot of outside stuff you don't want to get.
Now, right now, we're looking at an image of a mixer inside a blue case. We've got a couple wireless, probably 3 or 4 wireless receivers on it. What all is in here, and when would you use something like this?
Well, it sounds like you're looking at my big rig. For a job like this where you're having multiple, like a reality type thing, the Snap Geo thing that we did was more of a reality documentary type deal. So I had to have Randy, his wife, and other subjects mic'd up all at the same time, and we're mixing them down on the fly. So basically every person's got a wireless channel, and I mean, that's a small rig to some others that do the similar work. It just, any more than like 6 to 8 wireless mics going on in one bag for one guy is it's a bit much. It's usually kind of split up and get 2 mixers at that point, or at least they should. We would hope, but sometimes we're stuck with having to keep track of 6+ microphones at one time with people, and making sure they're all wired up correctly, that they're clean, or not closing noise, and whatever else technical issues that could be going on with frequency crosstalk and whatnot.
One of the things that impressed me about the photographs that you sent is the variety of different locations you found yourself in. Tell us about some of the places you go, and we'll show some pictures to illustrate just how strange and different they are.
Well, I mean, going back to that story, I told you how I got started with production sound. My producer and friend, his name is Mark, and he does a lot of overseas productions, and that he's invited me to, and we've been all over, like to Haiti, to the Philippines, Romania, Hong Kong, and Russia, Moscow, Ukraine. We've been all over the place, and every single one of these places is a different climate, and just about every place I go to, I've had my 633 with me, and I'm really glad it's such stable, because I would literally come off of one shoot from Haiti, where it's just a hot swamp kind of deal, or like the Philippines, where it's just wet and swampy, to working with some other people out in the snow in the Sierra foothills here that I have nearby me, and I think like the 633 would just kick right through it. It wouldn't even budge. It's great.
Aside from having the right gear and the Schweppes mic that you use, what's the biggest challenge in recording good sound on location?
Well, it is that. Exactly. It's location. Usually when sound mixers like to express that when there's a noise on location, it's not a sound problem, it's a location problem. And that has a lot to do with, scouting where a good area is to be shooting so that you do get good sound. However, it's not always a luxury, so we have to kind of make do with what we have. And a big thing for a mixer is to know your tools. You need to know, like, sometimes even though you want to use your $2,000 boom mic to get the sound, sometimes the $200 lav might have to be used just to, get things down to a point where you're not hearing all the extraneous noise that you don't want. But I'm more of like a boom only kind of guy if it's possible. But a lot of communication with the producers and with the shooters that are organizing the shoot helps with you being able to get good locations to shoot. Be up front with them, and have good communication with everybody. Be a good person. Be easy to talk with and communicate with, and that will get you those situations that work in your favor.
Zach, a couple of technical questions before we run completely out of time. When you're recording, what sample rate do you record at? What bit depth do you record at? And what levels do you set?
Well, when I'm usually doing normal shoot dialogue type stuff, I'm at 24-bit, 48K. What was the last question you asked me?
What levels do you set?
Levels. Well, into the camera, you want to kind of set a nominal reference level. Usually that's somewhere between -20 and -18 dBU on a camera, so that's what your tone is usually. referencing to get levels set correctly. Your peaks, I usually have my peaks somewhere around -8, -6, and that way it's not too hot, not too soft. Because there's a lot of people, like, you'll turn in audio and they'll be like, oh, it's not loud enough. But it's safe and sounds good. Just turn it up on your end a little bit, you know. And it's always different with whoever you're working with. Sometimes they want it overmodulated, not to the point where it sounds bad, but they want it up there, you know. And some people kind of like it a little lower, so it's safe. So, and then there's ways where you can actually deliver both at the same time too, depending upon what kind of mixer you use. But
now we have a live chat running at the same time, and Eric in our live chat wants you to define, when you say you're a production sound person and you're mixing, what do you mean to mix in a live sound environment?
Well, that's kind of a funny story because depending on the shoot, you end up kind of becoming a tracker. Like, you're just putting down tracks sometimes. Some of us like to be actually mixing, so we're turning knobs. Let me run it this way real quick. Like, for example, the two mixers I use, they both are multi-track recorders. So let's take the 633, for example. It can record up to 10 tracks. 6 of those are actually ISOs of each input. So what we have is, like, say we got 6 mics, 6 people that are on wireless. We record each one of those people separately on a pre-fade notion, so they're not affected by the fader, post-fade. And what we do is we send all that to a bus, left or right or both, and we're actually listening to the bus and mixing as this is happening in real time. So we're laying down, you know, our version of a post-fade mix on a track or two, and that we like to use as maybe can go direct to camera. I used to do this with a cooking show that I did for 3 years. I was on the road with a crew, and Joey Fatone was our host, and we would that's how I deliver the whole thing. I would do everything. I would still record the ISOs in case there's a problem in post, but I would deliver a finished, or as best as I could, product of a mix for the editor to take and just pop right in and save a lot of time and money.
Zach, I could talk about audio for, as Mike will attest, for probably hours, but for people that want to learn more about you and your work, where can they go on the web?
They can find me at soundgeekproductions.com. I got to start doing my website up a little bit more and keep more informed, but they can also find me on Facebook under Soundgeek Productions, or my personal page is Zack Allen. They should be able to find me through the Soundgeek Productions that way.
And Zack Allen is the founder and owner of Soundgeek Productions. Zack, this has been fun. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, guys.
Our pleasure.
Thanks,
Take
Zack.
care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Still to come on the Buzz.
I want to invite you to become a member of our video training library. Our training library is unique in the industry. It includes more than 1,400 in-depth movies, each accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every movie in our library can be streamed to any internet-connected device. And it includes production and post-production, hardware, software, and techniques. It features current and past software releases from both Apple and Adobe, and unlike YouTube, all our training is complete. And unlike other websites, we focus exclusively on media production and post-production. Best of all, our memberships are affordable, starting at only $19.99 per month. Focused, in-depth, accessible, and complete. This is the training that you need to solve problems, master new software, and expand your business. I invite you to become a member today. Thanks.
Wendy Woodhall co-founded the Los Angeles Post-Production Group in 2008 with her husband Woody, and serves as the organization's executive director. She's been in the entertainment industry for more than 20 years in various capacities, including television production, publicity, marketing, and product placement, including, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, co-founding the brand new LA Post Festival. Hello, Wendy, welcome.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for having me.
Hi, Wendy.
Oh, it's always fun. Mike has been talking about this interview since he got into the studio today. He said, finally, someone that understands how to run a user group.
Yeah, exactly. Wendy's one of the best. Well, I can't believe that you guys have been in existence now for 8 years. That's incredible.
Yeah, we're creeping up there. Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Wendy, I know we've talked with you in the past about LAPPG, the LA Post Production Group, but what I want to focus on today is why you decided to create the LA Post Festival.
Excellent question, Larry. So, as you know, we've been running the group for a while now, and over the time we found that so many of the tools have become accessible to the general public. We also realized not everyone has access to professionally shot footage, especially outside of LA. So we wanted to create a festival to allow everyone or anyone from anywhere who has the skills to be able to tell a story. And so we wanted to create something that was like an apples-to-apples comparison. That was sort of the genesis of this. We also based it off of something similar Woody did, my partner. He had done something in theater where he gave 10 different pairs the same script and asked them to create a scene. And it was amazing just the different things people were able to do and how creative people were. And that's really what we wanted to get from this. And we also really wanted to spotlight post-production. As I'm sure you guys will agree, we're often the unsung heroes, and we thought this would be a great way to put us in the spotlight, as well as to discover some talent that we don't necessarily know about yet.
Well, one of the things that struck me is that with the festival, you're providing footage for the entrants to use. Why did you decide to provide the footage? Because I know you said professionally shot, but who shot it, and what are you giving them, and what genre did you decide to pick?
Great question. So we chose a sci-fi genre. We thought that really lent itself to people being creative. Woody directed it, and he directed it in a specific way so that he did 3 different emotional readings of everything. So people would really have different things to choose from as they're editing this. And we shot that last spring. And the festival actually launched in November. So that was sort of that's how we went about it. We shot the film, and then we're letting everybody else finish it.
It's so cool. We're looking at pictures now of Woody standing in front of the green screen with the actor, and then we're also looking at one of the cameras. And then we have a second shot here where we see the actors standing on the green screen with a background superimposed over them and some of the sample backgrounds. Where did you get the artwork you used here?
Well, so what we did was we reached out to some people that we thought would be excited about this. Black Magic Design came on right away. They supported us. We shot on the Ursa, which was just fantastic to use. Andrew Perot was our DP, and he loved shooting on that. And then we reached out to the European Southern Observatory, and they gave us those amazing images that people can use in the green screen when they're doing compositing. And Sony Creative Music came on board. Sony Creative Software came on board to deliver us music, and so we're really lucky that so many people were supportive this first time around.
Well, a contest implies that you've got judges. Who's judging the results, and how did you find them?
Okay, well, most of the judges, actually all of the judges are friends of ours through LAPPG, and we have Digital Production BuZZ's own Serena Catania, of course, the fabulous woman that she is. We have Tony Orsina from Modern Family. He's the editor of Modern Family. We have Stephen Saltzman, who's a music editor on, most recently on The Revenant.
Wow.
We have Juan Cabrera, who did the stereoscopics on Star Wars The Force Awakens. And we have Kay Miracle, who's a very talented Emmy Award-winning editor. And then a friend of yours, Larry, Norman Holland, USC Film School professor, is lending us his time as well.
Wow, that's a really good group of people.
Exciting, right?
Yeah.
We're very excited for that.
Oh, yeah.
And a good group of people and Norman.
And Norman, yeah. A good group of people and Norman, yes.
Norman's amazing. I enjoy working with him. What criteria are you giving the judges as they look at these? And how many entries do you have so far?
Well, we are giving judges, they're looking at these in different ways. We're giving 5 awards. We're doing Best Editing, Best Use of Sound and Music, Best Visual Effects, Best Use of Assets, and Best Film. So they're really looking overall, who's telling the best story? That's what we really want to get through here. If the king isn't perfect, that's something that can be fixed. The 5 winners will, in their prize package, they're going to have their films mixed in surround at 48 Windows, mastered at Phonetic Studios, and then it will be screened here in Los Angeles at the festival.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's we're going to have the judges look overall, but also who's telling that story, because so much of post-production, so much of storytelling is done in post-production, and that's what we want to sort of spotlight in this.
Yeah, what's going to be really tough for a lot of these, especially new filmmakers, is they have to know everything. They have to know story. They have to know editing. They have to know visual effects. They have to know sound. They have to know music, and they have to put that all together into this contest that you are doing. And it's going to be tough for these people.
It is. It is challenging. It is a challenge, but that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. So what you can do if you don't have all of those skills is you can form a team. So it's one person who enters, but you can have somebody work on your sound, you can have somebody work on the, visual effects, and that way you can sort of pick people with their strong suits and make it work that way.
What's involved in entering? Is there an entrance fee, and what do people have to do?
There's an entrance fee, and it's simple to enter. You go to our website. I think we still have 3 weeks left on the standard rate. Then it bumps up just a little bit that last week. You have to be able to work really fast if you're going to enter in the last week, though. Yeah. But you still have a month. That's plenty of time to enter this challenge. What happens is you go to the website, you pay the fee, and then we send you the login information. You go to Collaborate, which is our cloud asset management system from Digital Rebellion, and you can download everything there. They'll be able to download like the line script and the music and the footage and anything else that they need.
I'm curious, since Woody actually shot all of this, has he put it together into his own little movie yet?
That's a great question. Yes, he's done his version, his quote director's cut.
All right.
One thing I think that's going to happen, though, one thing that we're planning on is once the 5 films are chosen, 5 winning films, he will go back and work with these filmmakers to bring them, to make them as strong as they can. And we're really excited. We're really excited for that.
What happens if they're better than Woody's?
That is definitely a possibility.
I know. There you do.
We'll just have to wait and see.
All right.
Wendy, for people that want to be able to enter or be able to keep track of what the LAPPG is up to, where can they go on the web to learn more about the contest and the group?
Sure, thank you. The group is lappg.com. It's free membership. You don't have to live in LA. If you do live in LA, we hold meetings once a month. But we have job boards, we have discount offers, and lots of other opportunities online.
And the contest?
The contest, lapostfest.org, and all the info is there.
lapostfest.org, and Wendy Woodhall is one of the co-founders of the LA Post Festival, as well as LAPPG. Wendy, thanks for joining us today, and have great fun with this.
Still to come on the Buzz. Welcome to Tech Talk.
One of the big features that we've had in Premiere, which a lot of people don't know about, is that we've had loudness metering built into Premiere for the last, year or so, maybe longer. Loudness is becoming increasingly important because the US and the Europe have set standards measuring the loudness so that commercials are not glaringly loud compared to programs. So we want to have program and commercials have the same loudness value. The way we measure the loudness is a tool called the loudness radar, which exists in Premiere, but it began in Audition. What Adobe has done now is that they have moved the loudness radar and, even more importantly, broadcast safe, which Adobe calls the video filter. Both of those are now export options. So rather than having to worry about having your mix meet all the specs of the EU or a US broadcast, we can do this as a post process. We can do our mix, we can do our edit, we can make it all perfect. Then we run it through on export, run it through a broadcast safe called the video limiter, and run it through loudness normalization. And we solve a ton of problems during our mix. We can create the program that we want and then make sure that it's protected against being too loud, too soft, or chroma oversaturated, or luma, because the video limiter does both. This exists inside Adobe Media Encoder. It exists inside Premiere. It exists inside Audition. I'm going to show a piece of this inside Audition. I'm going to show another piece inside Media Encoder, but I need to stress that all three of these applications have both loudness normalization and video limiting built in as a post-production process, which is the best possible place to put it. Thinking of Audition, let's take a look at this clip. If I take, let's find a Dr. Surf clip here. And we'll just edit this into the timeline. And I realize that his audio is a little low. And for those of you who are looking at the program monitor, you're going to say, not only is this audio a little low, but you got a 4:3 video into a 16:9 aspect ratio. Let us not quibble. I want to talk about audio for a minute. Let's select this clip, go up to the Edit menu, go down to Edit in Adobe Audition. We can bring the entire sequence across to do a mix, or just bring the clip across. Instantly, the clip is brought into Audition, and I can now process the clip. I can remove noise, I can remove hum, I can do a mix, I can increase the balance, I can even do loudness stuff. Oh, I almost forgot. There's two new settings inside exporting in Premiere that are significant. Let's say that I want to output this project. Go up to File, go down to Export. I'm going to export the media. But here's the setting that's so cool. Notice down here under Effects, as I scroll down, not only do we have an SDR conform, which we'll talk more about when we get to Media Encoder, but way at the bottom, during the export, I can turn on the video limiter right there. Turn on video limiter so I don't have to add it during editing. I can add it during export, which makes my editing faster because I don't have to worry about, are my whites too hot or am I crushing my blacks? And at the same time, right below it, I can turn on during export the loudness normalization and have it meet the US or the EU or the worldwide settings, depending upon what my deliverable needs to be. For the US, ATSC is the right choice. By having these built in to Premiere during export, it means that I don't have to worry about it during my editing because I can clean it up at the output. Chris Bross is the Chief Technology Officer at DriveSavers, which specializes in data recovery and digital media forensics. Chris guides the development of new tools, technology, and techniques to recover critical user data. Since joining the company in 1995, Chris has found ways to recover data from hard drives, SSDs, and RAIDs that have suffered from abuse, neglect, floods, fire, and failure. And now they're expanding into dead smartphones. Hello, Chris. Welcome.
Hello, Larry. Great to talk with you again.
Well, it's
Hi,
good
Chris.
to have you back. You're always fun. And Mike is
Here?
checking in because data is his life.
Yes, it is.
Chris, I described you as a data recovery firm. How would you describe DriveSavers?
Well, we're both a data recovery firm and a forensic and e-discovery laboratory, which means we're not only producing data because you want your photos and videos back, but we're producing data and recovering data for law enforcement, legal, liability, lawsuits, and all the other L words that we talk about.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes, but let's focus on the recovery business first. Is the bulk of your recovery business coming from traditional hard disks or mobile devices?
Well, excellent question. It is still coming from, as we call it, spinning rust. That would be magnetic disk drive storage. But that percentage of our business is decreasing slightly, while the verticals that are increasing significantly are mobile devices and solid-state storage devices.
What type of phone damages are most common? What kind of repairs do you have to make?
Well, the two biggest variables driving the need for data recovery from phones and other mobile devices are impact, the device is crushed, smashed, run over, etc., or liquid or environmental exposure to all kinds of different things. Those drive the majority of cases that we need to recover data from, but that's followed by deletion of data, corruption of the operating system, and just the unknown problems that turn phones into bricks occasionally.
Chris, you and I had a chance to talk last Monday when both of us were attending the Storage Visions conference in Las Vegas, and you told me something then that I did not know, which is that data which is stored on an iPhone or a mobile device is encrypted. But how can you recover data from an encrypted device when you can't read the data once you've got it recovered because it's encrypted? Walk me through this process.
Sure, excellent question. And we talk about encryption a lot because encryption, well, is kind of becoming the default on a lot of devices, which is a good thing. And encryption comes in a couple of layers or flavors. It comes at the file level, where just a file, for example, is encrypted. It comes at the file system level, where the entire operating system and file system are encrypted. Or you have what's called full disk, or FDE encryption, where everything is encrypted at a physical layer from the actual storage media itself, whether it's platters in a hard drive or NAND flash in a phone or in a solid-state drive. So encryption is very strong. 128-bit or 256-bit encryption is quite strong. It's arguable from an academic perspective how breakable some encryption is, but we don't break encryption. We recover broken encrypted devices. And what I mean by that is that we need to work through the logic or the controller of a particular device and repair it or fix it or modify it so that we can still extract the data via that controller itself, because the controller allows us to get access to the data in a decrypted state where we can actually recover user data files. Does that make sense?
I'm still taking notes.
I'm trying.
But I'm puzzled because in the past, when we were talking about encryption, especially for high-performance applications like video editing, encryption was always something we were told not to do because it slowed everything down, anywhere from 5 to 20%, and we couldn't afford that performance hit. Now you're saying almost like the encryption is built in and we don't have any control over it. And I'm confused. Should I worry about the performance hit of the fact that my data is encrypted? And how do you verify that you've recovered it accurately when you don't know what's there?
Sure. So you shouldn't really be concerned about the performance related to encryption anymore because we've moved encryption to silicon. When encryption was in software, it was dog slow and still is. And performance suffers greatly. When we moved it into logic on a chip, and we did that on hard drives and on solid-state drives, and in fact, most solid-state drives entering the market today actually have encryption built into them, the user does not perceive it because the processing that's happening at a physical layer is fast enough that it doesn't really throttle your bandwidth in any way. So to the user, you don't even know it's there and running, but it's actually protecting your data down at the physical layer.
I don't think anybody knows that your smartphone is encrypted. I mean, nobody knows. NSA knows, and they want it not to happen, but no, nobody knows.
The thing
well, in the phone market, there's two major players right now. You look at Apple and iOS and the Android devices from the 6,000 handset makers on the planet who are using that operating system. And Apple, starting with the 3GS model some years ago, actually, started including encryption. The iPhone 3GS is some time ago. And prior to that, they were not encrypting. They were doing some scrambling, but they weren't encrypting. Apple has, by default, had this option enabled since that time, and I assume your average user has no clue about that because it's always on and it's always running. Now, with Android devices, last year Google made a big claim that, hey, we're going to make sure encryption's running on all our devices too, after Tim Cook from Apple talked about how locked down Apple iOS was. Well, unfortunately, Google couldn't force all of the users of Android to put hardware encryption chips in their phone. So unless you're running a Nexus device that's brand new, or you're actually turning on encryption in software on your vendor of choice Android phone, you are not encrypting those devices. So in general, those are not as encrypted as Apple devices.
Which makes the NSA really happy.
Well, the good guys want to have access for the right reasons, but the manufacturers want to protect data privacy for the users. So this is going to be an ongoing battle.
Yep.
Well, thinking of ongoing battles, which takes us to the courts, gets us into your e-discovery and digital forensics side of the company. Define what e-discovery is and what you guys are doing.
Sure. Well, I'll define digital forensics for you first. Digital forensics is the concept of producing data as evidence. That is data that could be reproduced time after time in a court of law and stand up as evidence. It used to be blood, hair, and fingerprints, were the evidence that we were looking for in a criminal case. Today, it's your smartphone, your Twitter feed, your LinkedIn account, your public Facebook page, and every other thing valuable about you that's sitting on the phone. So when we're talking about digital forensics, any type of storage device, it could be a heart defibrillator, a GoPro camera, a server, a phone, a watch, anything that's digital and storing data, producing it for a court of law. Now, that parlays into e-discovery, which is the umbrella industry of law firms, consultancy agencies, and other entities like that then ingest this digital evidence, sort through it, cull through it, look for keywords, date stamps, things related to the event, and pull the needle from the haystack, the smoking gun evidence that they need to find, and then they produce it in the traditional discovery type of environment in a court of law. You show the other side, they show you what they've got, and that is now the electronic discovery process for legal purposes.
Wow.
Well, what makes this different from ordinary data recovery that you guys have been doing for years?
That's an excellent question. Well, in data recovery, the device where the data lives isn't functioning. So that's why they're requiring data recovery. In digital forensics, oftentimes the device is operating properly, but law enforcement or whoever acquires the device from the suspect doesn't have the ability or the technology to process it. Now, there are cases in the forensic space where the bad guy intentionally does all kinds of bad things to a device to try to make it unrecoverable, shooting it with a gun, smashing it with a hammer, throwing it into a pond, whatever the case may be. And in those cases, you have to first do your traditional laboratory data recovery work, and then with the paper trail, the auditing, and the process, produce it forensically as evidence.
Are you
It's a
being
good
asked?
TV show, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
It would. I mean, I'd watch it.
Well, there is a TV show. It's called CSI Cyber.
That's what I was going to say.
The only difference between what they do and what we do is it's real in our lab.
Are your typical clients law firms? Are your typical clients individuals or corporations? Who's asking for these services?
Sure. Our typical client is absolutely anyone and everyone storing data digitally on a device who's not backing it up. In-house, we say from grandma to government.
Well, that certainly covers the waterfront, but I was more specifically asking about the digital forensics. Who are your typical clients here?
Yeah, understood, of course. Well, law enforcement is coming to us quite often, both domestically and internationally, with requests for devices that they can't deal with. So we see it from that side. We also see it from the attorneys and the law firms. We also see it from district attorneys who are already involved in a case. And in some cases, we see it from HR attorneys in corporate America because, the legal departments in corporate America are trying to do a good job of watching their employees. And corporate espionage is a very, very real thing. And when employee A moves from one company to its competitor, company A wants to know what that person took with them. And so that's a big part of what we do.
Your website uses two terms I want to have you define. One is legally defensible, and the other is repeatable. Now, it sounds to me like those have specific meanings, and I was wondering if you could go into that for just a minute.
Yeah, it's. I'll try not to go down the rabbit hole on this because it becomes quite a discussion related to solid-state drive and phone recovery versus traditional hard drive recovery. What I mean is that with traditional spinning hard drives, it was relatively easy to produce what we call a physical layer image of the drive in a hashed format, which is kind of a CRC check on the drive, that we could do over and over and over and reproduce the exact same results and show a judge that the evidence is solid, the digital trail is clean, and we can reproduce those results 5 times in a row. Now, with the move to solid-state technology, and without getting into all the physics of NAND flash with you right now, NAND flash as a media does not manage data in the same way, and in fact, through its own maintenance routines, gets rid of old data. Not for security reasons, but for performance reasons. So courts are now starting to have to adopt new standards of understanding of how we can produce or reproduce evidence from a solid-state drive, which is changing its state after data has been removed from it, and still prove to the judge and prove to the jury that the evidence is clean, even though we can't do the same reproducible hashed image that we used to do with a hard drive. But now we have other variables that we can wrap in to show that it's clean evidence from both solid-state drives and from phones.
And this story will be on CSI Cyber next week.
I'm not sure if truth is stranger than fiction, but yes, it may be.
I watch it.
Chris, this is fascinating stuff. Where can people go on the web to learn more about the kind of projects you do and the work that you do that's available to them?
Sure. Well, you can find us on the web, obviously, at drivesavers.com. You can also find us for our e-discovery services at drivesaversediscovery.com. We're open 24 hours a day at 800-440-1904. We're all over social media. And if you go look today on the web and search Star Trek and Drive Savers, you'll see a great story about how we just helped Gene Roddenberry, who passed away in 1991,
Thanks,
to
Chris.
recover lots of original stuff for him.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.
It's time for a BuZZ flashback, 5 years ago today.
I'm a cinematographer, and the Digital Cinema Society is a hobby of mine that just sort of got out of hand. Started a number of years ago when I was shooting a lot of HD, and I got frustrated by the misinformation about digital. Made a nice little documentary, but the problem is before we could finish it, it was starting to become obsolete. And that's why we decided to do this ongoing effort called the Digital Cinema Society.
This was a BuZZ Flashback.
You know, Mike, it was a pretty eclectic show. We started off talking about production audio, and then suddenly we're into taking all the production assets and turning it into an entry for the post-festival. And now, in case you decided to throw your smartphone in a lake, you can recover it and submit it to court. That covered a pretty wide waterfront.
Talk about 2016. I had a quick story for you. I was going to ask him, but we ran out of time. A couple of years ago, hard drive died on my laptop. Couldn't get the thing booted up. I hadn't backed up in about 30 days. Panicked. I was going to either send it to Drive Savers or put a gun to my head. That was about my only two options. Somebody told me, and this might be an urban myth, and you might have the answer, take the hard drive out, put it in a plastic bag, throw it in the freezer for a certain amount of minutes. I think it was 10 or something like that. Take it back out, put it back into your laptop, start it up, and see what happens. And it worked.
Wow. It
worked. So I immediately backed it up because I knew it was going to die again. Is that an urban myth, or was that a coincidence, or is that something that is possible to recover your dead hard drive? Because it worked.
Well,
and I've heard others do the same thing, and it worked.
I have a hard time believing that it's the best thing because all the lubrication inside a drive is going to get a lot thicker. But on the other hand, it did work for you.
It worked.
So hard to say no, but I would not necessarily advise in favor of it.
It might have been a coincidence, but it did work. And other people have said it's worked.
Could have been
them.
just the fact that you were throwing it around so forcefully.
And thank goodness I didn't have to send it to Drive Savers. So
no, they do good work.
I know they do good work, but it takes a while.
It does indeed.
And he didn't back up.
I want to thank our guest for today, Zack Allen with Soundgeek Productions, Wendy Woodhall, the co-founder of the LA Post Festival, Chris Bross from Drive Savers. There's a lot of history in our industry. It's all on our website at Digital Production Buzz. Also visit with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. Theme music composed by Nathan Doogie Turner. Additional music provided by Smart Sound. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Visit takeone.tv to learn how they can help you. Our producer, Serena Catania, production, Megan Paulos, Ed Golia, James Miller, and Brianna Murphy. On behalf of Mike Horton, my name's Larry Jordan, and thanks for joining us for The Buzz.
Bye, everybody.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from The Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching The Digital Production Buzz.